Welcome to Her Imprint, part of the Impressions Exchange. I'm Denise Gustafson, your host. This podcast celebrates the remarkable women who are transforming the printing industry. We'll explore their journeys, from challenges to triumphs, and share the stories that leave a lasting imprint. Today, I have with me Susan Moore. She's president and owner with Dumont Printing. So, Susan, welcome.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure to have you. And to get us started, can you tell me a little bit about Dumont Printing? Because I know you're celebrating a big anniversary this year.
We are. Just in April, we got done celebrating our 75th anniversary, 75 years in business. And we were really excited about that. We had a wonderful open house with a wonderful turnout. We were super excited to host lots of people from our local community.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
So,
you.
in a nutshell, what would you tell me if I asked you what does Dumont Printing do?
What does Dumont Printing do? Well, we used to just be a printer, but now we are so much more than a printer. We do a lot of high volume printing, we do a lot of digital printing. We have an entire wide format division. So we do graphics and displays and POSs for stores, trade show graphics, banners. So that division has really grown. Lots of R&D in that division. We custom packaging, especially at the holidays. We are a full service mail house where we are associated with the post office and we can get you those deep discounts on mail. We sell a lot of promotional items and also a lot of apparel. So we do a lot of corporate apparel. And we have a very large fulfillment center. So we are housed here in Central California in Fresno, in downtown Fresno. And we have three buildings with just under 60 employees.
Awesome. So you basically do just about everything.
We do. And I'm one of those people that if you say, hey, do you think you can do this? I'm like, sure, we can figure that out.
That's the fun part, though, right?
Uh-huh.
Figuring it out.
It is. It is the fun part.
So, how did you get started in print?
Oh, wow, that's a journey. So I got married young and I was in college and I was seeking a full-time job. And my mother taught school with a woman, and her husband owned what was considered a business forms distributorship. So when I was 19 years old, I went to work for a business forms distributor and I worked my way up. I worked there for 7 years and I worked my way up in that industry and I became the office manager. And then I decided that it was time for me to move on and I started looking for a job. And I had somebody that worked for the company. He did sales and he had worked for Dumont Printing. So I came and applied for a job. There was not an opening, and the owners were getting at the time getting ready to go on their first vacation that they hadn't been on in 20 years. And so they said, come back in, the 1st of January. And so I interviewed for the job. That there was no position. They first parked me in a desk in the middle of a room in the back office, and they hired me, and I began my sales journey. And I was a salesperson for the company, and I became the company's top salesperson over the course of the next several years. Coincidentally, the owner took ill in June of 2001, and I took over running the day-to-day operation of the company as their top salesperson. And at that time, I did not know he was terminally ill. And I was running the company and selling a couple $1 million worth of print at the same time. And in 2004, he passed away. And I literally had been running the company by then for 3 solid years. And I then became the vice president of the company when he passed away and continued my journey on. His wife inherited the business, and I ran the day-to-day operations of the company and continued to run the day-to-day operations of the company. He was very concerned about his little company at the time, about people knowing, that the company wasn't going to go away. We were very well known in the community, still are very well known in the community today, very philanthropic, involved at the time with the art museum and the local Philharmonic and a mentorship program on a high school level. So we gave back a lot to the community. So his main concern was for everyone in the community to know that Dumont Printing was not going to go away if something happened to him. So I continued on that journey and continued to run the company. She was pretty much here when she wanted to be, but really literally made all the decisions, the day-to-day decisions. She came to me in 2013 and said that she wanted to sell the company, hoped I could figure out a way to afford to buy it because she'd like to sell it to me. And so in December 31st of 2013, I finished my stock purchase of the company. I bought Dumont Printing lock, stock, and barrel. So I'm a,
Congratulations.
thank you. I'm a local girl, born and raised here in Central California, a graduate from a high school here locally in Clovis, and that is my journey. So I did not inherit the business from my parents. My parents don't have anything to do with the printing industry, coincidentally. And so I learned everything there was to know right here. I will tell you that the journey was very different when I became the owner of the company. For example, I've been here for 35 years now, and I still to this day actually have employees that have been here longer than I have. And what I'm actually experiencing now is a lot of those long-term employees, one of 45 years retired 2 years ago, one of 38 years just retired in December, another salesperson just retired in December. So it's kind of interesting when you become the person who ran the company and then all overnight people who have been here longer than you actually are now their boss. So that was somewhat of a challenge, but I had been running the day-to-day operation of the company for a long time before he passed away. So I feel that I had the respect of most of all of the employees by then.
So, I mean, you more or less fell into this industry. You started in business forms,
I
got the
did.
job. I mean, for you, I'm guessing you didn't wake up as a kid and say, I'm going to be a printer.
No,
I
I
mean,
did
what
not.
were you thinking of doing before you ended up here?
So I wanted to get a degree in photography, which I did not end up getting. I wanted to be a photographer. I wanted to be a National Geographic photographer. And a lot of people do not know that my aspiration was to go to Brooks Institute.
Okay.
And so my parents were both working class people and they did not give scholarships to freshmen. So back in the day, it was like $20,000 a year to go to Brooks Institute, which was in the early 80s. And that just seemed unimaginable. So I was working my way to get my AA and then I was going to go on to become a photographer. So yeah, that's what I thought I was going to do.
But you veered into printing instead.
I veered into printing, and there's an old saying like once you get into printing, there's only one way to get out. And I've actually feel like that there's some truth to that. I did pick a really good company to come to work for and to actually end up owning. Where I say this with all the love in my heart, we're one big dysfunctional family. That family has grown. And of course, as we all know, there's been a lot of challenges along the way. I took over, like I said, I took over early in 2001, and of course we all know what happened in September of 2001.
Mm-hmm.
And then fast forward, we had a recession in 2008, 2009. So I've ridden the wave, and then not to mention COVID, where we pivoted very hard in 2020 and managed to keep every single person employed.
Which is amazing because there's
Hmm.
people that just they weren't able to figure it out.
Yes, yes. I will say I'm very fortunate. I have a husband that's very supportive. And for 2 weeks, I thought, well, we'll just close down for 2 weeks. None of us had a crystal ball to figure out what that journey was going to look like. But we came out the other side much stronger. We pivoted to make face shields. We were making, as almost as many with 30 people on the line as Ford Motor Company was with 400 people on the line.
Wow.
Hmm.
That's crazy.
And then we pivoted into making acrylic, and we had not ever cut one piece of plastic before COVID hit. So I would say that I used to say the one thing about my employees is that if the building was on fire, they would be right behind me with the fire hose, helping me put it out. And that's exactly what they did. I think at times they thought I was crazy, but
Aren't we
you
all
know,
just a little bit
yep.
crazy?
Crazy is as crazy does. And so we have, now when I say we're going to figure this out, maybe before COVID, people would look at me like, well, she's crazy. Now they're like, oh no, she's going to figure this out.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, for you, was there a moment as you're going through this journey? I mean, you're learning, you're gaining, you're selling millions of dollars. Was there a point in time when you really realized that this was the industry for you, that this was really your place?
I would say actually my sales career is where I realized it was my place. I loved selling print. I love the interaction with the people. I actually loved my job. And I will say when the owners came to me in 2001 to take over running the day-to-day operation, I had a little bit of a heart palpitation because I had spent, the better part of my career since the 90s, getting my sales under control. I felt like I had a good handle on things. And now here I am going to be dealing with all the employees. Not that I didn't deal with them already,
It's different. You're
but
d-
it's different.
you're
Yes.
building the relationships with the clients and
Mhm.
your employees, the other employees are working side by side to get jobs done. It's
Yes.
different.
It is. It is. And I would say it took a long time to earn that respect. I will tell you that it was interesting on my part where the aha moments came from. The aha moments were not necessarily from the production employees because I think that they saw that I had sold a lot of printing and that I had been selling a lot of printing. So I don't know that there was a lot of questioning on the production side of things.
Hmm.
I think the aha moments were more probably from admin staff, things like that. Not necessarily from the production employees.
Because maybe they
Because
didn't see you kind of in the wild in some ways, or like,
no, they did not.
yeah.
And I spent, I will say, my sales career, which I think sometimes is lost in this industry, is I spent a lot of time learning how the machinery operated. I wasn't just your typical salesperson that went out and sold something and didn't know what it took to put it together. And so I think that's why Larry early saw it as a perfect natural fit for me to take over running the company. I knew how the presses worked. I knew how the folders worked. I knew how all the equipment worked. And if I didn't, I was determined to understand it.
So you're a woman after my own heart. I love knowing how things work.
Yes. Right before we got on this call, I took something apart because I'm going to figure out how to make it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm always interested to see, like if I learn about a new product, there might be a new ink. How does that new ink work and how does it attach to the paper and why does it work the way it does?
Yes.
Because it's so interesting to know that because once you know that, you kind of understand so much more about the product and then what can be done with it once you know really how it works and what, yeah, it's
I
fun.
totally agree with you. Yep.
We can geek out over all the technology, which has changed
Oh,
dramatically since you started.
drastically. Yeah. I mean, we talk about it. I purchased another small company and well, I've done a couple acquisitions in my career now. And the one in 23, July of 23, I ended up with like 7 employees and they'd all been in the industry for a long time. And every once in a while we all talk about and commiserate how far and how much technology has changed this industry.
I mean, it's changed dramatically. When I first started covering this industry, it was the early days of wide format. So inkjet was just getting
Mm,
started. It was more like the electrostatic side of things. Mercury diesel was still a huge, huge thing
oh,
in the
there.
AEC side of the market. So,
Well, and I broke into the wide format industry in like 2015. And I didn't know the first thing about, I mean, I knew how proofers worked, of course, but I didn't know the
mhm.
first thing about. And the very first contract we landed was to do all the signage in our ballpark and wrap plastic baseball seats. And I had no idea how molded plastic got wrapped. And we found out very quickly.
You had to at that
Mhm.
point, right?
Yeah, it was a challenge, that was for sure. And the person that we won the contract away from, they were like, "Oh, they are going to fail miserably." And so I was like, "Oh, no, we're not."
No, we are not. I'm determined to prove you
Yeah,
wrong.
exactly.
Now, for the industry as a whole, I mean, you've made a full career in the printing industry, but people have a lot of misconceptions about what the industry is like. How would you challenge some of those assumptions that, it's an old industry or there's other things that people do say about it?
Oh, I agree with you. I mean, 100%. I think one of the common misconceptions, especially around youth, until they come and they see what we do, is that printing is an outdated
Hmm.
or a male only mechanical driven type of field. Like it's not creative. They assume it lacks that innovation. How much innovation we have in the printing industry. Also, women. I'm shocked. Youth, girls. I'm on the board of the San Joaquin Valley Manufacturing Alliance and things like that. So we have a lot of mentorship type of things that we take on for young women, and I speak to high schools and things like that. And the truth of the matter is that printing is highly technical, fast evolving, one of the fastest evolving type of industries around. Not to mention, think about any other industry out there that is custom, that every single thing, whether you do an 8.5 by 11 flyer, it might be an 8.5 by 11 flyer that's printed 4/4 versus 4/0, or a folder that folds differently. Everything we do is custom.
Mm-hmm.
And from the digital transformation to sustainability, and I also don't think young women, especially, they don't think about graduating from college or going into the printing industry. It's just not something that's out there. I believe here in California we still have Cal Poly that
Mm-hmm.
has a great graphics program. And I think that the graphic side of things is women think about becoming a graphic designer or things like that. But I don't know that people realize that there are great careers made in the printing industry.
Now, obviously, I mean, you're doing mentorship, you're reaching out to the high schools, but there's only so much that you can do or I can do to talk to those kids. And
Absolutely.
they are kids.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
how do we get that message out that the industry is sexy, that it's technically advanced, that there is so much opportunity for a full career?
And how about this? If you don't want to have 2 days ever be alike, become a printer.
I know.
I mean, become a printer. The printing industry is ever evolving. There's a lot of exciting things going on in it. I know we used to say, "Oh, it's just ink on paper," but it's not just ink on paper anymore.
Look at what you're
Technology's
doing.
changed that, you
I mean, you're
know.
doing apparel, you're doing the hard goods promo products. I mean,
Hmm.
you're packaging all the things that you
Yes,
are touching.
yes, and I would tell you, we went into packaging hot and heavy about 3 years ago, and even my salespeople, and I think they got so much pushback because there's a lot to learn about packaging.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, we're not doing massive amounts of packaging. We're doing like small packaging, gifting packaging items for like our clients that are giving out holiday gifts, things like
Hmm.
that, all kinds of custom packaging. So we're not necessarily doing 5,000 boxes, but we're doing 100, 200, 300 boxes at a time.
Influencer kits kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
influencer kits, exactly. And so everybody, it's like, why are we doing this again? And because I saw the need for us to be able to be competitive in the packaging industry.
Hmm.
And along with that brought a lot of challenges. So we still will make you a mock-up box. We'll still comp the box up for you. We still do a lot of adjusting research. Even though we may have made the same box for XYZ company that we're making for ABC company, we still will put the graphics on it, make sure it folds in the right place, do the die guide for the cutting of it. It's exciting, it's fun. And it's interesting. It's just interesting because no 2 days are alike in this
Hmm.
industry. We are not making widgets. And I think that people think, oh, printing, that's not very exciting.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it is exciting. And because, like I said, every day is different. Every project is different. Even the projects that you feel that you can do with your eyes closed, those are usually the ones that bite you.
of course, because you're not paying attention at that point, right?
Right. You're on autopilot.
Yeah.
Want to level up your skills or empower your workforce? Meet iLearning Plus, the online education platform powered by our parent organization, Printing United Alliance. With on-demand courses and certifications, iLearning Plus helps print professionals stay ahead of industry trends, sharpen their expertise, and grow their careers. Whether you're elevating your skills or training your team, we've got the resources to keep you competitive. Printing United Alliance members save 20% on all courses and certifications. So get started today at ilearningplus.org and build a stronger future in print.
And I mean, if you go into the wide format space, then I mean, if you're doing a vehicle wrap or whatnot, that is
Yes.
truly custom. It's a
Well,
one-off,
yes,
you
and we
know?
started out doing vehicle wraps, and we really concentrated on doing more partial wraps, but now we're back to doing full vehicle wraps. And as I mentioned earlier, they say that they thought I'm crazy. We are getting ready to wrap a silo out in Dos Palos area for a big grain company. We're going to rent a lift, and we're going to wrap part of a silo for them. And they've tried to approach everyone in town to do it, and everybody's like, no, no. I'm like, oh, why not? I mean, granted, we can't do it when it's 110, but why can't we go out and attempt this?
Yeah.
So it'll be a challenge. I'm sure it won't be without issues or problems or something that we didn't think about, because we have never wrapped a grain silo a day in our lives.
I don't think a lot of people can say they've wrapped a grain silo. I mean,
Right.
in all honesty, I've seen a couple, but
Yeah.
it's not something that you're going to get all the time. The
Right.
billboard, fine,
Right. Right. And I'll be honest with you, we've never done a billboard, but not necessarily. I don't think that that's where I have some 3M certified windows and wall guys and
Mhm.
things like that. And I think they would probably really might throw me out of the building if I said we were going to do a billboard. So,
Or like in some cases, you might be do delivery trucks or whatnot. That's something
yes.
that might
Yep.
be,
We've done lots of delivery trucks.
yeah.
We've done food trucks. We just did an ice cream truck. It was so much fun.
What? That's
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
fun.
We just did an ice cream truck.
And it's perfect timing.
Yes. Yes.
Definitely. Now, I know one thing you mentioned, print is always considered manufacturing, and
Mhm.
you're a female owner in a industry that still is pretty heavily male.
Yes.
What's it like for you to walk into a room and you are the only woman there? And is that still happening to you?
It does. It does still happen. Not always as often, but it definitely still happens. So I think in my younger days, so I just had a milestone birthday. I just turned 60. So I think
Congratulations.
thank you. So I have been running the company. I had to think about this the other day. It's so scary to think it's been 24 years. So that's some pretty simple math at how young I was. I would say I was more intimidated when I was younger. And still today, it's very interesting to me. We had a big piece of equipment delivered, actually just at Christmas this last year, and we were trying to get it installed before the new year, and it was in our large format division. And the interesting thing was is that the truck driver, it was like on a 53-foot truck, and we had to have special forks to get it off, and we had to have special operators. So the machine gets on the ground, and I'm standing out there, and the truck driver comes over and he's looking for somebody to sign for it. And all my guys are out there from my large, and I mean, men are out there from my
Yeah.
large format division, along with one of the a gray-haired gentleman that I ended up with in the acquisition from 23. And he's out there talking to me. And so the truck driver walks over and asks, his name is Chim, asks Chim if I can sign for this. I mean, if he can sign for this. And he said, no, why don't you have her sign for it? And he pointed to me, and the next thing you know, he walks over to me and he says, that gentleman over there said, that you could sign for this. Are you sure you're authorized to sign for this? At the time, Summer, she's 25, my son, my marketing person, she turns to him and she goes, I'm pretty sure she can sign for it. She owns the company.
Think
But
so.
still to this day, I experience, more times than I can count, like being overlooked. And I don't know that I feel like I have my decisions second guessed, or
Hmm.
especially by support staff. But I would say earlier in my career, I kind of just brushed it off. And over time, I've learned in my older age and my wisdom how to address it directly and professionally, and to speak up for myself. You can tell I have a pretty good side, pretty big personality.
Yeah.
But I've learned to speak up and clarify my role, and to exert myself and my expertise with confidence. And I think that is something that you learn. I don't know that that's taught, whether you go to college or leadership. I think Vistage, I've been a member of Vistage for a little over 9 years. And that was, I think, that really kind of brought me out, is for, especially as a woman. And then for a while, I was only one of two women in my entire Vistage group
Hmm.
locally. And then one of the women, she left. And then for a while, I was the only woman in my Vistage group. And I will say that that was a really wonderful experience because I had men in that group that were CEOs of a lot larger companies than I was. And so they would be like, Susan, you need to speak up for yourself. And so I learned to say, hey, look, I've been doing this job a long time, and I know what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
And so I think that that just comes with maturity as well and experience.
And honestly, that's probably one of the hardest things that women have to try to handle or get their head around is to be comfortable to being confident. But
Correct.
then of course there's the line and like then you have the when you're too confident and then you might get called
Oh yeah.
some names that because you're now
Yes.
it and
Yes.
it's so frustrating that line, where you're confident but now you're pushy, you might be
Yep. I
called
agree with
a
you.
bitch or something else.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. I mean, and because if a man was saying it, they wouldn't be called that.
I know.
Yeah.
He's a go-getter then.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah, he's on top of it. He's confident. I will say the one thing that in the industry as a whole, I think over the years, women are more prominent now than they ever have been. Even
Hmm.
even as salespeople, like vendor salespeople, I deal with a lot more women than I used to. I belong to a printing peer group where there is a woman. She's in Florida. She's also a president and owner, and she came through her industry up through her mother, though she bought her mother out. But I will say that I have another woman in my printing peer group who is second generation as well, and she has a brother and another sister, and she's actually the president of the company. So you see it a lot more now than you used to.
Yeah, because women are realizing that this is a really great place to have a career.
I will tell you that I have a 20-year-old son. So in 2004, I was 7.5 months pregnant when the owner of the company died. And I had my son in December and came back to work 10 days later with my son in tow. And
Wow.
because I was very concerned, because I was running the company
Yep.
for 3 years at that point. And I will tell you, it's interesting to have a 20-year-old son, almost 21 in December. And uh, when he still to this day explains, the people, his friends will say, oh, so what does your dad do? Oh, no, it's not my dad, it's my mom. My mom is the one sending me to college. My mom is the one, my mom is
Hmm.
the one. My mom owns a printing company because I am the sole owner. We are a woman-owned certified company. And my husband was not involved when I purchased the company. I mean, I was married, but he is not involved in the printing industry. So I did drag him back to work during COVID. He wasn't real thrilled about that because I had to have somebody out measuring acrylic, and I needed additional people on the team, and so there was. And he had to be on payroll, so I had to put him on payroll during COVID.
So
So
you hired during COVID, more or less.
I did because we were shorthanded
Yeah, I can imagine.
for what we were doing. So, and being in California, no one can appreciate. I mean, maybe if they were in New York, but we were really locked down. We were locked down until June 6th of 2021.
Hmm.
So it was a very long time. Our children were out of school. Yeah, that was a juggle because usually dad would be at home with my son, and he was in high school at the time. And meanwhile, he was at home by himself because dad came back to work.
Dad had to come to work.
Yeah, dad had to come to work, and my son was online very quickly, as most kids in California were. Some kids were doing packets, but my son was not. So, anyways, and in fact, as soon as they said he could go back to school, I was like, "Yeah, you're going." He's like, "Even for 4 periods a day?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're going back to school." So this is crazy. Everybody needed to be at work. And the reason I had struggles during COVID was anybody that was over the age of 65, which was just amazing and very discouraging to me, was laid off for about a 2-week period. Well, according to the governor.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so they got laid off. And then as soon as I could call them back up, I had to go through these long questionnaires to ask them if they were willing to come back to work. And because they were in the sensitive group, they had to wear a mask. And that
Hmm.
was like, it was just horrible timing for everything. with what we had going on here and how we were trying to pivot, and they all wanted to be a part of it. And so I was super happy it was only a 2 week period of time.
But at least they were able to come back and they were able
Yes.
to pitch in and help
Yep.
when they needed
Yep.
to.
And boy, what camaraderie we had during that time. So we learned a lot about each other.
I can only imagine. You got
Yeah.
closer together as you said, a dysfunctional family, aren't we
Yeah.
all? In some way, shape, or form.
Yes. I still laugh to this day if you'd ever told me that I would be pushing toilet paper out on Saturday mornings, cases of toilet paper out because I didn't want my staff out trying to find toilet paper. I would have probably laughed you out of this building.
Well, we now
Yep.
know the lengths that we will go.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, in wrapping up, my favorite question that I like to ask is knowing what you know now. So, from your start in business forms, your full journey at Dumont, if you were just starting in the industry today, what advice would you give yourself?
I don't think that I think the way I've survived this industry is that you can't take things too seriously. I don't know that people from the outside world understand how stressful print is with deadlines and, events and everything is so deadline oriented. And I think when I started, I had to work twice as hard to be taken seriously. And I don't know that that is the case today. I have, a couple women salespeople today that are younger, actually, with people retiring. And I just feel like as things have evolved and you get that true experience where from a female standpoint of things, I think I worked super hard all the time trying to prove myself. I think that I was constantly trying to grow. I feel like I worked hard to try and be the smartest person in the room. And now I have decided, as once again, maturity. If I am the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room. So in order to grow and challenge myself, I really think I need to be in a room where I can learn a lot of things from a lot of different people. It's so difficult for women to have that confidence when they're young and to rise up because there's always, like you said earlier, there's always a man out there, or not even necessarily a man, it could be a woman, even in this industry,
Hmm.
that thinks that you don't know what you're talking about or you don't know what you're doing. And we some days I don't know what I'm doing. Sometimes I wonder what I'm doing. I mean, I seriously, I mean, and I think that that's okay. I think I think that the stress of it all, and I will say, looking back, COVID was a big one. COVID was big because I don't know that I knew what I was doing. I mean, I was just moving forward because I'd been taught at an early age, if man, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. And so I grasped at every idea. I mean, to buy acrylic, you couldn't buy acrylic. I bought acrylic out from Home Depot. I bought their acrylic out from the West Coast because I wired money because they hadn't paid their bill. So and I was like, I had 53-foot trucks of acrylic backing in and no place to put it. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? You know what I mean?
You figure it out.
Figured out. And my younger self, I knew I could do it, but my older self, I had that experience under my belt.
Mm.
And I don't think I struggle today with who I am as much as I struggled in my earlier days of who I was.
I think when you're
And
younger too, you're so worried about showing a vulnerability.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you. And I try to tell my salespeople, especially my salespeople, because you have to sell things inside this building probably harder than you do outside the building sometimes. And I always try to tell them, please be hungry, humble, and smart. And if you can really remember one thing in the middle there, remember the humble, be humble. And I tell them that if you ask me today how I got here, it was by being hungry, humble, and smart. And there's always something in this industry that will humble you.
Always. Internal, external.
External.
There's always something.
Yes. Yes. And like I said, it can be a person, it can be a job, it can be a product, it can be, it can even be your own child. You
Could be a
know,
global pandemic. You never
yes, it could be
know.
a global pandemic. Yes. So, I mean, I'll tell you, I never ordered a lick of groceries online before the pandemic. And I was like, my girlfriend's like, what do you mean you haven't ordered groceries? I said, my husband does the grocery shopping. I didn't know you could order groceries online. And now I order all my groceries online.
There's no
So,
going back, right?
yeah, there's no going back. And so you have to evolve and you have to change. And like I said, the printing industry is ever changing. And I think women today are helping mold that change and the future of the printing industry.
I happen to agree with that.
So, and I think that like my salespeople, they make good money, and that's why I say, you need to be hungry, but you really need to be humble, and you have to be smart about it.
Hmm.
And I was told that very early on in my career. So, and I wish I could remember who actually told me that because it was some great words of wisdom.
And it's something that's stuck with you this entire
Yep.
time.
Yes. And every once in a while, I try to tell one of my salespeople, like, okay, are you being humble? They'll be argumentative or they'll argue with the admin's person or be defensive. And it's like, that's not being humble.
Really good reminders. But Susan, thank you so much for joining me today. I really love chatting with you and
Oh, I
learning
enjoyed
about.
this too. This is great, especially woman to woman. I love it. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you again. Thank you for joining us on this journey to celebrate and amplify the voices of women in the printing industry. If you have a story to share or know someone whose journey deserves to be highlighted, we'd love to hear from you. Together, let's continue inspiring and empowering the next generation of leaders. Until next time, keep leaving your imprint. This is Her Imprint. See you soon.